The planet lay in ruin. Smoke curled in slow gray spirals above shattered buildings, and twisted metal jutted from the ground like the bones of some long-dead giant. The human exploration team stepped carefully through the wreckage, each footfall echoing in the hollow silence. Their mission had been simple: survey the abandoned alien settlement for clues about the recent conflicts that had swept across this sector. But nothing in their training had prepared them for the scene before them. Captain Elias Morgan led the group. His face was set, eyes scanning the debris with a mix of curiosity and caution. "Keep your eyes open," he said, voice low. "There could be survivors or dangers. Either way, we proceed carefully." The team moved forward, their boots crunching on glassy fragments and alien debris. Dr. Rena Chen, the team's medic, paused to examine a scorched vehicle that looked like it had once been a transport. Its doors were bent, windows shattered. "This wasn't an accident," she said quietly. "Whatever happened here, it was deliberate." Before anyone could respond, a sound cut through the silence, a faint, trembling voice. "Human, take me and Mama." The words were weak, almost swallowed by the wind, but clear enough to make the team stop in their tracks. Morgan signaled for silence. The voice came again, more desperate this time, carried over the wreckage. "Human, please." The team followed the sound, moving cautiously among fallen walls and crumpled metal towers. Finally, they found her. A small alien girl, no older than 7 or 8 by human standards, was trapped beneath a collapsed beam. Her wide eyes were filled with fear and something else, hope. Beside her, partially buried in the rubble, was her mother. The woman's breathing was shallow and blood stained the edge of her torn clothing. Rena moved first. "We need to lift this beam," she said. "She's hurt and her mother even worse." Morgan nodded. "Team on 3. Lift carefully. Don't risk crushing them further." Together the humans strained against the heavy metal. Sparks flew as they levered the beam upward, muscles aching. Finally, with a grunt of effort, the debris shifted enough for Rena to slide under and pull the girl free. The child clung to her arm, trembling violently. "Shh," Rena whispered. "You're safe now." Morgan looked down at the mother. She was unconscious, pale and bleeding. "Rena, we need to stabilize her, fast." Rena nodded, pulling medical instruments from her pack. As she worked, the girl's voice returned, quieter this time. "Human, thank you." Morgan crouched beside her. "You're welcome," he said. "What's your name?" The girl hesitated, glancing at her mother. "Lyra," she whispered. "Mama." "Her name is Naya." The team exchanged glances. This was no ordinary rescue. Lyra's species was unknown, their language unlike anything the humans had encountered. Yet she could speak some basic human words instinctively, in a plea that tugged at the hearts of even the most battle-hardened members of the team. Rena worked quickly, checking Naya's injuries. "She's critical," Rena said. "If we don't get her medical attention soon, she won't make it." Morgan assessed their surroundings. The wreckage stretched for kilometers, and the nearest safe human outpost was several hours away by rover. "We carry them," he said decisively. "No waiting, move." The team lifted Naya onto a stretcher while Lyra held tightly to Rena's hand. The girl's small fingers pressed against Rena's palm, as if drawing strength from the human's calm presence. They moved carefully, stepping over jagged metal and broken pathways, avoiding unstable walls that could collapse at any moment. As they traveled, Lyra whispered stories in broken human words, pointing to pieces of the destroyed settlement. "Home, here," she said, touching a half-collapsed tower. "Night, dark." "They came, big. Fire." Morgan's brow furrowed. "They?" he asked. Lyra nodded rapidly. "Yes, they. Destroy all." Dr. Chen glanced at him. "It sounds like an attack, not an accident." This wasn't a natural disaster. The team pressed on, moving like shadows through the devastation. Hours passed, and the weight of the rescue grew heavier. Naya's condition worsened, her breathing ragged. Rena whispered encouragement, using every ounce of skill she possessed to keep the mother stable. Finally, the humans reached a partially intact building. Morgan set up a temporary triage area. He looked at the 2 alien survivors, then at his team. "We need to do more than save them. We need to understand what happened here. And we need to protect them, whatever it takes." Rena gently laid Naya on a clean surface and began immediate treatment. She cleaned wounds, applied pressure to bleeding areas, and administered emergency medical compounds from the human supply kit. Lyra hovered nearby, watching with wide eyes, occasionally whispering, "Human. Strong, help." Morgan stepped outside, scanning the horizon. The smoke from the wreckage still twisted toward the sky, and the ground bore marks of large vehicles or creatures. Something had attacked this settlement, leaving destruction in its wake, and whatever it was, it had left only a handful of survivors. "Captain," Rena called, her voice tense. "She's stable for now, but she's lost a lot of blood. We need to move soon or she won't make it." Morgan nodded. "We move at first light," he said. "Get some rest. Keep Lyra and her mother safe. Tomorrow we find out who did this and why." That night the team watched over the two aliens. Lyra finally curled up against a makeshift blanket, her small frame shivering from exhaustion and fear. Even in sleep her whispers were faint, calling out for help, for safety, for a human who had become her unexpected protector. Morgan looked at her and felt a surge of resolve. Humanity had spread across the stars, but their strength wasn't just in technology or weapons. It was in compassion, courage, and the willingness to risk everything to protect the innocent. And now, here it was, tested in the heart of a ruined world, in a small alien girl's fragile voice. "Human. Take me and Mama." The captain clenched his fists, feeling the weight of responsibility. Tomorrow they would face the unknown, but tonight they would protect the helpless. Because humans, he thought, didn't just survive. They cared. They fought. They persevered, and that made all the difference. The next morning, the sun barely pierced through the thick clouds of smoke lingering over the ruined settlement. Captain Elias Morgan checked the team one last time. Everyone was ready, but the tension was heavy. Naya was stable for now, but her condition remained critical. Lyra clung to Dr. Rena Chen, her small hand trembling as they prepared to leave the temporary shelter. "Keep close," Morgan ordered. "We have to reach the outpost before nightfall. No delays." The team lifted Naya onto the stretcher. Lyra stayed beside her mother, whispering words in her broken human vocabulary. "Mama, safe. Human help." As they moved through the devastated streets, the team noticed subtle signs of danger: deep tracks in the ground, scorched craters, and scattered debris that seemed almost deliberately arranged. It was as if someone or something had been watching them. Private Samir Patel, the youngest of the team, glanced nervously at the shadows. "Captain, do you think they'll come back?" Morgan's jaw tightened. "We don't know, but we can't wait to find out. Eyes open, everyone! Move fast and stay alert." The humans and aliens advanced cautiously. The ruins made movement slow. Fallen beams blocked pathways and jagged metal threatened every step. Lyra sometimes tripped, but Rena held her tightly. Halfway to the rover station, the team encountered the first sign of pursuit. A drone, twisted and blackened from battle, skittered toward them from the wreckage. Its sensors glowed red, scanning for life. "Contact," shouted Lieutenant Jara. She raised her weapon and fired. The first shot sparked against the drone's outer shell. Rena instinctively pulled Lyra behind a collapsed wall. Morgan assessed quickly. "We can't stay here. Everyone suppress and move. We need to reach open ground." The humans fought with precision and determination. Samir threw a makeshift EMP device, temporarily disabling the drone while Jara covered their escape. Lyra watched wide-eyed, feeling fear but also awe at the humans' courage and ingenuity. Once they reached open terrain, Morgan ordered the team to run. The rover station was only a few kilometers away, but the path was littered with dangers. Large craters formed treacherous obstacles. Fires still burned in some buildings, sending plumes of smoke into the gray sky. During a short break, Lyra whispered to Rena, "They will come for us." Rena shook her head gently. "We'll protect you. Humans don't give up on those in danger." Morgan overheard and felt a surge of pride. Humanity had traveled across galaxies, faced countless dangers. But it was moments like these, protecting the weak, standing against impossible odds, that defined them. As they moved again, Naya's breathing worsened. Rena scanned quickly. "Her heart rate is dropping," she said. "We need to keep moving, but we must go faster." Morgan made a decision. "We split the team. Half will carry Naya, the rest will scout ahead. We'll use flares to communicate." The humans adjusted, showing flexibility and quick thinking. Samir and another member carried the stretcher while Rena stayed beside Naya, monitoring her condition. Lyra clung to Rena's side, occasionally murmuring encouragement to her mother. Hours passed. The sun dipped low and a cold wind swept across the desolate plains. Just when they thought the worst had passed, movement in the distance caught Morgan's eye. Shadows shifted unnaturally among the ruins. "Incoming," he shouted. A group of large spider-like scavenger drones emerged from the debris, glinting metal limbs reflecting the fading sunlight. They moved with precise coordination, clearly hunting life forms. The humans prepared for battle, but Morgan hesitated. Direct confrontation could slow them down and endanger Naya further. He needed another plan. "Use the terrain," he ordered. "Lead them over the unstable ground near the craters. Let them get stuck." The humans executed flawlessly. The drones followed their movement, but the uneven ground caused several to fall and malfunction. Jara and Samir disabled 2 more with careful shots. Lyra hid behind Rena, holding her breath as the humans fought. "Human, strong," she whispered. Her small voice carried wonder, as if she could already sense the difference between humans and other species. Finally, the drones retreated, malfunctioning or destroyed. The humans exhaled in relief. Naya's condition remained critical, but she had survived another threat. Morgan looked at his team, sweat and grime covering their faces. "This is only the beginning," he said grimly. "Whatever attacked this settlement is not far behind. We have to reach the outpost before nightfall." Nightfall came faster than expected. Shadows grew long and the cold settled into their bones. The humans improvised a temporary shelter near a ridge. Fires were lit cautiously, enough to warm the group but not attract unwanted attention. Lyra sat beside her mother, her small hands pressing against Naya's chest. "Mama, safe. Human help," she whispered repeatedly. Rena checked the mother again. "She's holding on," she said softly. "But it won't be long if we don't get her proper care." Morgan studied the horizon. Through the smoke and darkness, strange lights flickered in the distance. Not drones. Something larger, more organized. "They're coming," Samir said, voice trembling. Morgan's eyes narrowed. "Then we stay ready. Humans survive because we adapt. We fight with our minds, our hearts, and whatever we have around us. That's why we protect life." The humans took shifts, keeping watch through the night. Lyra finally fell asleep beside her mother, exhausted but clinging to hope. She dreamed of stars and humans who moved through fire and ruin, carrying her to safety. When dawn came, the humans broke camp quickly. The ridge provided a good vantage point, revealing the path to the outpost. Morgan scanned for threats. The strange lights from the night were gone, but the tracks they left indicated pursuit. "Move quietly," Morgan ordered. "We can't let them see us yet." The team navigated carefully. Lyra occasionally pointed to landmarks, showing an instinctive understanding of the terrain. She guided them around hazards, her small voice carrying more confidence now. "Left, rocks, safe." By midday, the human outpost came into view. It was a fortified structure, showing signs of long-term occupation. But even here, signs of previous battles were visible. Burn marks, damaged walls, and abandoned vehicles. Morgan exhaled. "Almost there," he said. "Keep Naya steady, Lyra. You're doing well." The girl smiled faintly, a fragile expression, but one that carried hope. "Human, strong. Help," she said again, as if repeating a mantra that reminded her of safety. As they approached the outpost, sensors suddenly blared. Scouts had detected incoming ships. The humans stiffened. Whoever or whatever was chasing them had caught up. Morgan's mind raced. They were moments from safety, yet danger lurked closer than ever. He looked at his team and saw the same determination in their eyes that had carried them across ruined worlds and through impossible odds. "We hold them off," he said quietly. "Protect the innocent. We've come this far. Humans don't give up." The team prepared for what would be the next challenge, but one truth was clear. Human courage, ingenuity, and compassion were their greatest weapons. And in the middle of a dangerous, broken world, those traits would be tested again, because they carried not just themselves, but Lyra and Naya, fragile lives that had come to trust them completely. And that trust, that belief in human strength, was something no enemy could easily break. The human outpost loomed ahead like a promise of safety. Its walls were tall and reinforced, and faint lights flickered along the perimeter, signaling life. The team moved cautiously, carrying Naya and keeping Lyra close. Even though they were almost within the walls, the danger was far from over. Captain Elias Morgan scanned the horizon. "Stay alert," he said. "We're not safe until we're fully inside." Lieutenant Jara nodded, her weapon trained on the distance. The sun had climbed high, casting sharp shadows across the ground, and the humans knew that the attackers could strike at any moment. The outpost gates opened, revealing a mix of humans and allied alien personnel. Medics rushed toward Naya, taking over from Rena. Lyra watched anxiously as her mother was carried away on a stretcher. The fear in the girl's eyes was sharp, but so was the trust she had begun to place in these humans. Morgan knelt beside her. "You did well," he said. "You're safe now. We'll take care of your mother." Lyra's voice was quiet, almost trembling. "Humankind strong." For the first time in days, Morgan felt a small measure of relief. The humans had risked everything to protect two fragile lives, and they had succeeded. Yet the sense of unease remained. Someone or something had destroyed Lyra's home. The threat was still out there, and the girl's words hinted at knowledge that might be critical. As Naya was treated, Lyra began to open up. She led Morgan and Rena to a quieter area in the outpost, speaking in broken human words. "Big, destroy all," she said, pointing to the images she had drawn in the dirt earlier, showing towering machines and fiery explosions. Rena knelt beside her. "Who are they? What attacked your home?" Lyra hesitated, glancing at the medic with wide eyes. "Null. Come. Take. Destroy. Nothing. Left." Morgan exchanged a look with Rena. The Null. They had heard rumors, stories whispered in the outer sectors about a species that wiped out planets systematically. If Lyra's account was true, then the destruction they had witnessed was only a small part of a much larger threat. "We need more information," Morgan said, "but we also need to protect you. Can you tell us everything you remember?" Lyra nodded, her small hands trembling. She described how the Null came suddenly, their ships dark as shadows, their weapons obliterating anything in their path. She spoke of smoke, fire, and the cries of her people. Through her fragmented words, the humans began to piece together the scope of the attack. Rena watched her closely. "You're brave," she said gently. "Not many could survive what you went through." The girl looked down, embarrassed by the praise. "Human, help me, Mama, only hope." Morgan felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him. Humans had always believed in protecting life, even when the odds were against them. Now that belief was being tested in ways he had never imagined. Over the next few days, Lyra stayed close to the humans, helping where she could. Her instincts were surprisingly sharp. She pointed out weaknesses in the outpost's perimeter, noticed patterns in the way supplies were stored, and even helped Rena administer minor treatments to other injured aliens. In the evenings, the team gathered around the communal table. Lyra listened as humans shared stories of survival and courage, while she spoke of her home planet, the festivals, and the peaceful lives she and her mother had led. Slowly, a bond formed between the girl and the humans, one built on trust, respect, and mutual care. Morgan observed this bond with a mixture of pride and concern. Humans excelled in technology and strategy, but their true strength lay in empathy. It was that empathy that now protected Lyra and her mother. It was also the empathy that might be needed to face the Null. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the horizon, casting the outpost in orange light, Lyra whispered something new. "Human, clever, can fight, beat Null." Morgan knelt beside her. "We'll try," he said. "But first we need to learn everything we can about them." The following day, Morgan called a team meeting. Maps of the sector were spread across the table, with markers showing known Null activity and destroyed planets. Lyra watched, pointing occasionally to areas she remembered. "She knows more than we expected," Morgan said. "Her memory is sharp. She saw their ships, their weapons, their movement. This could be valuable intelligence," Rena frowned. "But she's just a child. Can we trust that using her knowledge won't put her in more danger?" Morgan's eyes hardened. "We protect her no matter what. But we also need to understand the threat. Information is the first step to survival." Lyra listened to their discussion, her small voice breaking occasionally as she added details. "Big, fire, destroy, fast, many die." Each phrase painted a clearer picture of the Null's methods. The humans began analyzing the data, cross-referencing it with what they knew from reports of other attacks. Slowly, patterns emerged. The Null moved with terrifying efficiency, targeting resources, communication hubs, and population centers systematically. But humans were adaptive, resourceful, and unpredictable. qualities the null did not expect. Morgan realized something important. Human ingenuity and unpredictability were their greatest strengths. Even if the null were technologically superior, humans could outthink them, outmaneuver them, and protect the vulnerable. Meanwhile, Rena worked tirelessly to stabilize Naya. The mother's condition improved slightly, but she remained weak. Lyra spent every possible moment at her side, whispering comforting words and holding her hand. The humans watched this interaction with admiration. Even in the face of unimaginable loss, Lyra's compassion and loyalty shone through, a reflection of the qualities that made humanity remarkable. One night, as the outpost lay quiet, Lyra confided in Morgan. "Mama, scared. Scared. Humans help. Strong." Morgan nodded. "We'll keep you safe. That's what humans do. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves." Lyra smiled faintly, a fragile light in her dark eyes. "I learn. Human, clever, strong." The next morning, scouts reported signs of null ships in nearby space. The threat was drawing closer. Morgan knew that the humans and Lyra had little time, but he also knew that they were not powerless. Together with ingenuity, courage, and empathy, they could face what was coming. Lyra's bond with the humans had grown into trust, and trust was a weapon as strong as any gun. She had learned to rely on their courage, their creativity, and their determination. And the humans had learned from her the value of compassion, the cost of loss, and the urgency of protecting life in all its forms. As preparations began for the possible arrival of the null, Morgan reflected on what he had witnessed. Humanity's strength was not just in technology or training. It was in their hearts, their willingness to take risks, and their ability to inspire hope. Lyra, fragile yet resilient, embodied that hope. And now, standing on the edge of another challenge, Morgan knew that humans would rise again. Not just to survive, but to protect, to fight, and to prove that even in a galaxy filled with fear and destruction, the heart of humanity remained unbreakable. The null might come. They might bring destruction. But humans and the fragile girl who had whispered for help through the wreckage would not yield, because humanity was clever. Humanity was strong. Humanity would fight, and together they would face the darkness step by step. The sky over the outpost darkened as null ships appeared on the horizon. Sleek and black, their forms moved with a precision that made every human's stomach tighten. Captain Elias Morgan gathered his team in the command center. The humans were outnumbered, and the null's weapons could reduce the outpost to ash within minutes. "We have one chance," Morgan said firmly. "We protect this outpost, the people here, and Lyra and Naya. Humans have something they don't expect, creativity and heart. That's what we'll use." Lieutenant Jara checked her weapons. "We can't take them head on. Their technology is too advanced." Morgan nodded. "We won't. We use the terrain, traps, and our ingenuity. Everyone has a role. Move fast, think fast, and never give up." Outside, the null ships hovered, scanning for life. Scouts reported movement within the outpost. The humans had to act quickly. They deployed drones and set traps near the perimeter, using debris and fire to create obstacles. Every barricade was designed not just to slow the null, but to force them into predictable patterns where human ingenuity could strike. Meanwhile, Lyra stayed close to her mother, holding her hand. Her voice was quiet but firm. "Human. Fight. Clever. Strong." Rena knelt beside her. "You've seen what humans can do. They'll protect you." The first null probe struck. Energy beams lanced toward the barricades, melting metal and sparking fires. Humans dived for cover, firing improvised weapons. Samir hurled an EMP device, temporarily disabling one of the attacking drones. Sparks and smoke filled the air. Morgan directed his team with calm urgency. "Now, lead them to the traps. Don't let them flank us." The humans moved like a well-oiled machine, improvising with every step. Even small details made a difference. Overturned vehicles, smoke bombs, and sharp metal spikes forced the null into disadvantageous positions. Lyra watched from behind a barricade. Her small hands clenched into fists. "Human. Brave. Smart," she whispered. She suddenly spotted a disabled null drone near a wall and pointed. "Hit. Here." "Weak." Morgan saw her guidance. "Good eye, Lyra. Samir, fire on that spot." The humans exploited the weakness she indicated, and the null drone collapsed in sparks. Hours passed. The null adjusted, firing more aggressively. The humans were exhausted, but their teamwork and courage kept them alive. They used every tactic at their disposal: underground tunnels, debris chutes, and even decoy signals to mislead the enemy. Naya's condition remained critical. Rena worked tirelessly, stabilizing her as much as possible. Lyra never left her side, whispering comforting words and repeating what she had learned about humans' cleverness. Morgan realized something profound. The Null were powerful, but they were predictable. Humans with heart and improvisation were not. Every obstacle, every creative solution, every act of courage made a difference. Late in the battle, a Null strike breached the outer wall. Smoke and fire surged into the outpost. Team members were scattered. Morgan yelled instructions, but the chaos made coordination difficult. Then Lyra acted. She remembered a path she had noticed during their journey. "Here, quick! Follow me!" she shouted, pointing to a narrow corridor. The humans hesitated but followed. Using her guidance, they navigated through the chaos, striking Null units where they were weakest. In that moment, Morgan understood fully. Lyra's trust in humans had transformed into active cooperation. She was small but clever, brave in her own way, and the human's heart had inspired her courage. Finally, after hours of battle, the Null began to retreat. Their confusion was evident. Humans were unpredictable, creative, and relentless. For all their technology, they could not anticipate every move. Morgan surveyed the aftermath. Fires burned, walls were damaged, but the humans had held. Lyra ran to her mother, relief flooding her face. Naya was alive, stabilized by Rena's care. Morgan approached Lyra. "You were amazing," he said. "Your courage helped save everyone." Lyra's small smile glimmered in the smoke. "Human. Strong, clever. Fight," Morgan nodded, feeling hope stir. The Null might return, but humans would be ready. Together, they had survived against overwhelming odds, relying not just on weapons, but on heart, mind, and teamwork. The sun rose over the outpost, painting the sky in orange and pink hues. The battle was over, but the scars of conflict were visible everywhere. Twisted metal, charred buildings, and deep craters marked the struggle. Yet among the destruction, humans and their allies stood tall, victorious in their own way. Naya rested in the medical bay, her condition improving steadily under Rena's watchful care. Lyra sat beside her, holding her mother's hand. Her fragile voice now carried relief. "Mama, safe, human help." Morgan walked among the humans, surveying the aftermath. The team was battered but unbroken. Every member had contributed, using creativity, courage, and compassion to protect the innocent. That, he knew, was humanity's greatest weapon. Rena approached him. "They'll recover," she said, glancing at Lyra and Naya. "Thanks to humans," Morgan nodded. "Humans don't just fight to survive. We fight to protect, to help, to inspire hope. That's what makes us different. That's what makes us strong." Lyra's eyes sparkled as she listened. She had seen human courage firsthand, had felt the strength of their hearts. Slowly, she began to speak more confidently. "Human, clever, strong, safe. My home, maybe new home." Morgan smiled. "This can be your home," he said gently. "We'll help you rebuild, learn, and grow. Humans don't leave anyone behind." The outpost began recovery efforts. Humans and allied species worked side by side, clearing debris, repairing structures, and preparing defenses for any future attacks. Lyra helped as much as she could, learning human ways while sharing what she knew about her own people. As days passed, bonds formed. The humans learned patience, understanding, and empathy from the aliens, while the aliens witnessed human ingenuity and determination. Together, they forged a small community of trust and cooperation, ready to face whatever the galaxy might throw at them. Morgan held a quiet meeting with his team. "We've learned something important," he said. "Humans survive not because we are strongest in firepower, but because of our hearts. We protect life, adapt, and inspire courage in others. That's the legacy we leave behind." Samir smiled faintly. "And Lyra. She showed us that even the smallest can make a big difference." Morgan nodded. "Exactly. Never underestimate the heart. Courage comes in many forms." Lyra, standing beside her recovering mother, whispered once more. "Human. Strong. Brave, safe. Family." Morgan looked at her, feeling a profound sense of hope. Humanity had faced the Null, protected the vulnerable and survived against odds that seemed impossible. And they would do so again wherever the stars called them. As the team prepared to explore further and strengthen defenses across the sector, Morgan reflected on what they had accomplished. Humans were not invincible. They could be wounded, outnumbered, and tested, but their heart, ingenuity, and unwavering resolve made them a force to be reckoned with. Lyra gazed at the stars from the outpost window. For the first time since the destruction of her home, she felt a sense of belonging. She had found safety, courage, and hope among humans. She understood now that strength was not just in size or weapons, it was in kindness, creativity, and determination. Morgan stood behind her, watching the horizon. "We'll face the future," he said quietly, "but we won't face it alone. Humans and those we protect, together, we are stronger than any enemy." And so, on a battered world that had known destruction, humanity left its mark, not just in survival, but in compassion, courage, and the promise of hope. Lyra held her mother's hand tightly, whispering a final word that echoed the truth she had learned. Human, family, home. The stars stretched endlessly above, and humanity's light shone among them, unbroken, unwavering, and ready for whatever came next.